Hi everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at the BG Guitars Bus Compressor by JST that you can see in the bottom corner of my screen here. In case you're wondering what a bus compressor is, it's like this finalizing stage of your guitar mixing that you can use to really get your tracks to sit exactly where you want them in the mix and to not move. Let's have a look at the controls, say for the instance I'm using on my rhythm track. It's got all the standard compressor settings, it's got the level of compression, it's got the mix, it's got the output, and it's got 3 different modes of compression, increasing in aggressiveness. Tame being the lightest compression and smash being a really heavy compression, which is used, I believe, on my lead here, but we'll come to that in a second. It's got 2 additional particularly interesting switches though, the tone switch and the harmonic switch. Both of these do similar things, but the harmonics are particularly interesting. They add this kind of upper airy quality to your tracks that can come in really handy, as you can see here on my solo channel, for making your solos just kind of stick out more without having to resort to, say, for example, like just a brute force volume increase. So let's have a listen to some solo tracks now. We're gonna have a listen to the rhythm first without the plugin on, and then with the plugin on. You'll notice a very subtle change, but it's definitely there. And now with. So yeah, it's subtle, but it definitely adds that extra bit of life to the tracks that's really needed when getting everything to stick together nicely, and it contributes to the energy of the track really nicely. So if we unsolo that, now I'm going to play that to you without the plugin and then with, and you'll see how it just sits the rhythm track into the mix way nicer than when it's turned off. I'm going to bring the plugin in. So yeah, it's quite obvious there that it just kind of brings out the articulation a lot more and has the track gel together just generally a lot nicer. So now we're going to move on to this little lead line that I wrote, and for this I didn't actually want the guitars to stick out all too much. I just wanted them to be a supplementing layer to the track, which is where these tone and harmonic switches come in really handy. So for this I used the most aggressive compression setting to kind of really push it into the track rather than out of it. So as I said, much more of a supplementing layer than anything. And here's a good place that I can show you how the tone and harmonic switches interact with the track. So we're going to play them soloed without and then with. Now with. And once again, you can see it just brings out that articulation in a very pleasing way to the ear. It's not ice picky or anything. It just adds a little edge. Now I'm going to actually play it again with the plugin on, but without the tone and harmonic switches engaged, and I'll bring them on one by one and you can see how they affect the sound. You should be able to see what I mean by adding that kind of airy quality to the tracks, and as a result, when in a full mix situation, you can hear that lead line without it being overbearing or really in your face. So let's just have a listen to that without the plugin in a full mix versus with the plugin in a full mix. We're going to bring the plugin in here. Now moving on to this final segment where I use the the plugin a little differently is on the solo track. I've got the aggression of the compressor to, quite low, well, very low actually. And then I've got the tone and harmonic switches turned on. And this, once again, I'm really focusing on how much it brings out the articulation of your fingers when playing. It really adds life and that much more live feel to the tracks. So I'm going to solo this track, and you're going to unfortunately hear just how sloppy I am in isolation. But I'm going to have the plugin turned off, and then I'm going to have the plugin turned on, and you should be able to see how it adds that much more human element to it, and you can hear the articulation of your fingers a lot more, especially in these legato passages. And we're going to go back to the start because it actually really comes into light with things like that tapping. Yeah, so you can already see how, once again, I'm really focusing on how much energy it brings to your track. So we're going to, once again, now do that full mix without the plugin and then with the plugin, and you should see how instead of the solo being like overbearing and in your face, like, oh, here's a solo, it's just more of a, here's a solo, right? So let's have a listen. Yeah, so it just adds that kind of like desirable level of crispiness to your lines that, that allows for that separation of all the tracks, but at the same time, it's a very cohesive sound that this plugin adds. And it's kind of very desirable, especially in these modern, progressive genres. You want everything to be, tight, but you don't want it all to just blend into this one big kind of cacophony. So, to wrap it all up, that was the BG Guitars Bus Compressor from JST. If you like what you heard and want to get a bit of that going on in your mix, you can just head on over to joeysturgistones.com and check out their entire range of bus compressors. Until then, see ya.